Welcome to another episode of Ozfish. Davey, let's get some. I thought what I'd do in this episode is talk about some of the actual fishing outfits that I use when I'm targeting jewfish in the river, live baiting. Now when you're jewfishing in the river and you're going to go out and buy some fishing tackle, I guess it's all relative in relation to really how much money you have to spend. Because if you want to, yeah, you can go out and buy really expensive, beautiful modern rods, and you can buy beautiful modern expensive reels. Like you could fish with Shimano Saragosas, you could fish with Penn Slammer 4s or Penn Slammer 5s they've got now. The world's your oyster really in relation to how much actual money you want to spend. And if you got it and you got excess cash, yeah, if fishing is your passion, yeah, you can go out and spend it. When I was younger, I'm almost 60 years old now, but when I was younger, probably in my late 30s, I was right into like live baiting in the river, and for a while there, like 2 or 3 year period, 4 year period, we did a lot of live baiting, chasing jewfish, lower in the system in deeper water. And what we did back then was we didn't really buy any specific gear for jewfishing. What we did was we were doing a lot of game fishing at that time, so we had lots of like TLD 30s and TLD 50s and sort of like these game reels and overhead reels. So what we did was we just grabbed those outfits and rigged them up, and we would just actually fish with all these sort of heavy overheads and just fish them in the rod holders, and we were just targeting bigger fish. And those outfits not really overmatched for the fish really. Like we were chasing bigger fish, 40, 50, 60 pound fish, and we caught a lot of big fish in that deep water. But yeah, those are the outfits that we used, and they were absolutely highly effective on catching jewfish. About 2 years ago, I got right back into live baiting jewfish in the river. I hadn't done it in a long time, but I thought I'd go out and give it a crack. It was something that I really enjoyed when I was younger, so I got right back into it. And again, what I did was I didn't go out into the tackle shop and buy all this specific, like gear for targeting jewfish. What I did was I've got a lot of rods and reels. Like all guys who've fished all their life, I own a lot of different rods and reels, and a lot of the rods and reels I haven't thrown away or sold. So I've got all this really old gear. So what I did was I just went out and had a look through all the gear that I owned, and my initial thought was I'll use all overheads at first. So I just went back and had a look at all the rods and reels that I had and put together some outfits and began to go out and target jewfish. So the first 2 rods that I actually picked out were these actual Silstar crystal blue power tips. Now this is like a 6 foot boat rod, probably about a 10 kilo rod, maybe a 15 kilo rod. And I've got 2 of these I had 2 of these rods. So these are the first 2 overhead rods that I actually picked out. And believe me, like I think you can actually get these rods in the fishing shop or online for about $80, like super cheap. But I'll tell you what, if you want to take one of these rods and match it with an overhead reel, these rods would have to be value for money, one of the best sort of boat rods you could actually buy. I mean, $80 for a rod like this. And I have caught so many jewfish of all different sizes on this Silstar crystal blue power tip rod. I really do love these rods, and they're indestructible in the tinny. Like you can, if you watch my videos, you'll see me quite often I'm solo. So, I'm catching jewfish, I'm netting jewfish, I'm struggling trying to get jewfish one-armed onto the boat. I'll throw my rods down, they'll hit the gunnels on the boat, they'll land on the floor. So I'm pretty hard on my gear like that when I'm on my own in the boat. And they're pretty much indestructible. So they're a fantastic rod. And they're a beautiful length, like for fighting fish. And what I really love about this rod is that there's a lot of grunt in the bottom end of this rod, but they're actually quite sort of soft in the tip. So there's a lot of give in the tip, and to me that's a real advantage. Like when you're fighting big jewfish out of the boat, I love power in the bottom end of the rod, and I love that parabolic bend, and I love how it's a bit softer in the tip. So what it does is it really just allows for the lunges of like those jewfish when you're fighting a jewfish out of the boat. And what I've done is I've actually matched this rod with these really cheap Daiwa Sea Line. Like this is a an SL50, like I think it's an SHB. So yeah, this Daiwa Sea Line, I don't know whether they actually make this reel anymore, but I bought these in the fishing shop for about $160, and I bought 2 of them. And they are, again, they have a fantastic drag system. Like the clicker, the ratchet on these reels is so loud, it's incredible. Like it scares the hell out of you when they go off on the Jewfish. That's how loud they are. But this reel is really strong, really robust, and what it does, it has a fantastic drag for a cheap reel. A nice sized handle, power handle, and yeah, star drag system on it. So when I'm Jewfishing, I use all monofilament on all my reels that I use, whether it's an overhead or a spinning reel. This one's actually spooled up with 30-pound tortue by the look of it. But yeah, mate, there is a mega cheap, powerful outfit. $80 rod, probably about $160 reel. So, you know, $240, $250. You can set yourself up there. Mono's cheap to buy. And yeah, so I had 2 of these matching outfits. And it just goes to show you that you don't need really expensive gear to catch Jewfish. This will catch your fish all day long, all night long. And yeah, fantastic outfit. So here's my second Silstar crystal blue power tip 6-foot boat rod. So I want to actually show you this particular reel. This is actually a Silstar. They used to call this a big fin. It's like a mini game reel, probably about the same size as the Shimano TLD 25. I bought this reel second hand about 25 years ago. I forget what I paid for it, but it was really, really cheap. But this reel has been a fantastic reel for me. Like, I have caught so many Jewfish on this reel, and holds plenty of line, and has a really, really cool like drag system for it. My mate Brandon, about 6 months ago, he took the reel apart and serviced it for me and redid the drag for me. So yeah, again, you can see how like this reel is, it's caught me so many Jewfish, and yeah, bought it second hand, really cheap, but powerful, good drag, caught plenty of Jewfish on it. So again, you don't need like a mega expensive overhead reel when you're chasing Jewfish. I mean, look at that outfit. Second hand reel, Silstar crystal blue, power tip rod. I mean, unbelievable. Cheap. Yeah, love it. So my reel of choice when I'm actually live baiting the river, when I'm using a spinning reel, is the Penn reels, like Penn spin fishers. I use these at a boat when I'm live baiting for Jewfish, and they also double up as my my Jewfishing outfits on the beach. And value for money, like these are a super strong, super powerful reel. Like they're heavy in your hand, but that doesn't worry me out of the boat or on the beach. What they have is they have a like a really really nice drag. They hold a lot of line, nice power handle. So yeah, for me, Penn spin fishers are just value for money and absolutely like incredibly powerful reel when you're targeting big fish, when you're targeting big Jewfish. So I have 3 sizes. So I use a Penn spin fisher 8500. I use a Penn spin fisher 7500. Awesome reel, love it. And I have a Penn spin fisher 6500. Love this reel as well. Smaller reel, a little bit lighter in your hand, but yeah, they're fantastic reels. And what I do, yeah, like I said before, I use all monofilament. So the 6500, that's as light as I go when I'm Jewfishing. This one's got 25-pound mono on it. And what I always use is, I always use Platypus Platinum. Yeah, I love Platypus Platinum when I'm using mono. That's what I use on the beach and out of the boat. So yeah, 25-pound on the 6500. And yeah, 30-pound Platypus Platinum mono on the 8500s and the 7500. But yeah, if you want to go out and you want to buy a reel and you don't want to go really, really mega expensive, but you don't want to go really, really cheap, I'd highly recommend the Penn spin fishers. Yeah, like a fantastic all-round yeah, reel. And what I want to show you is the 3 trippy spinning rods that I pulled out of my collection that I use when I'm Jewfishing. So this is a Shimano Beastmaster. This is a really, really, really old rod. Have to be more than 25 years old. I bought this rod again, second hand, and I think this is sort of like a glass graphite combo or something like that, but it's a heavy rod in your hand, but it's indestructible. And this rod is actually designed to be used on an overhead reel. You can see the smaller stripper guide, and it's probably got 9 runners on it. Yeah, which is a usual recipe when you're going to use an overhead rod. But what I do is I don't even care. What I do is I just flip it round. I just put my spinning reel on that overhead rod, and there's no rules, man. I'll just take rods and I'll just flip them over one way or the other. And this rod is an awesome rod. I've caught so many Jewfish on this rod. I used to put my Daiwa sea lines on this rod when I first got back into it, and caught a lot of fish like that. But yeah, this rod's really unique. Like, it's got a lot of power, like in the bottom section of the rod. It has an incredible parabolic bend in this rod. And this rod is an incredible rod for Jew fishing, because you'll get really big Jewfish up to the side of the boat, and they'll be rampaging around the boat, and this rod just bends. And that, in combination with the circle hook, I never lose a fish, whether I'm fishing solo or whether I'm fishing with some of my friends. Yeah, an incredible rod. I love this rod. And this outfit, believe me, this outfit is pretty heavy in relation to some of the modern outfits you can get. But the advantages are that it is indestructible. Yeah, value for money. Yeah, I love this outfit. And here's another rod that I actually bought more than 20 years ago. This is a Fluger President, and this is rated at heavy. So this is a glass rod. Again, this rod is really heavy in your hands, but this is a super powerful rod. You know, powerful in the butt, and it's still got a really nice bend in the tip. It's very forgiving when you're fishing with it, and incredibly, this will throw a 6-ounce snapper lead and a live bait a long way. It's amazing what you can actually throw with this outfit. Yeah, it has cork grips on it, which I really love when I'm using the snapper racks. So yeah, another just second-hand outfit that I pulled out of the collection. Bought it 20 years ago, but yeah, rated it heavy. So this is probably a 10 to 15 kilo rod, but about 7 foot in length. But again, yeah, fantastic for Jew fishing. Got a really nice fish last week, I think. Took off like a scalded cat, hit me super hard in the tide, and ran a long way on the first run. Probably about a 35-pound fish, really healthy fish. But yeah, this outfit here, mate, it just handled it, no dramas whatsoever. So yeah, there you go. Look at this old rod. This again is this is an old Silstar power tip, 7 foot in length, rated at medium. But man, this is another heavy rod in your hand. But again, on these Silstars, they have incredible bend in the tip, and they're incredibly forgiving when you're fighting Jewfish. So I love this rod as well. I actually found this rod underneath my mum and dad's shed. I used to have about 6 or 7 of these Silstar power tips, because about 25 years ago I was right into bottom bouncing at sea when I was chasing snapper float lining, and I've caught all sorts of fish on this rod over the years float lining outside. But again, you can see how this is a relatively cheap rod, indestructible rod, beautiful parabolic bend in it, and I've just begun using this rod in the boat to chase Jewfish, and yeah, I really like it. Stung a Jew on it the other night, and handled it no dramas. And yeah, this is like my bait catching outfit. This is an old Samaki Zing, like probably a I think this is like a 4 to 8 pound rod. And I've got it matched on a really, really old, Shimano Stratic, 2,500 Shimano Stratic, spooled up with 12-pound mono. So when I'm live baiting, I just use monofilament. I don't use braid. I find that the monofilament is really forgiving when you're catching yellowtail and live bait, and you don't pull many hooks out. Plus, it's really cheap to spool up your reel. But yeah, again, this is a really, really, really old reel. But I've just looked after it, and yeah, it's still going. And unbelievably, I don't know how this is still going, this Samaki Zing, but mate, you catch 4 live bait at a time, and it really puts some bend into the rod, and it hasn't broken. It's like a It's a graphite rod, you know, you should never high stick these graphite rods, but mate, indestructible and still going. It's covered in scales all over it. I always wash them down, but those scales, you know, they really stick to your rod. Try to get as many off as I can, but yeah. And what I've really loved lately is when I bought the Quintrex 420 Dory, my mate had given me a snapper rack. So I dropped that snapper rack in the boat, and then I bought another really flash snapper rack, and I've got two snapper racks in the back of the Quintrex 420 Dory. And I'd never fished with snapper racks before. When I was Jewfishing, I always used to just stick the rods straight out of the rod holders because I was predominantly using overhead reels. But man, I absolutely love the snapper racks when I'm when I'm actually fishing for jewfish. But anyway, that's a story for another day and for another episode. But I'm really super happy with the way that snapper racks work when you're chasing jewfish. So yeah, when I'm using spinning rods out of the boat when I'm chasing jewfish, what I'm really looking for in an outfit is, yeah, I want to have plenty of power in the bottom end of that rod, but I do love it if they've got a softer tip. I just love the way they work out of the snapper rack when the jew hits you on the circle hooks, and you just see them just load them rods up, and they bend right down on that softer tip, and it just puts a circle hook in really good. So they're one of the things that I like in my spinning outfits. So this has been a really short episode. I guess the bottom line in relation to this episode is that, sure, if you've got a lot of money, you can go out and buy really expensive equipment. But believe you me, you can go out and you can catch all the jewfish that you want. Big fish, small fish, medium-sized fish, on outfits that really, you can, they're not that expensive. You know, you can go out and spend, you know, $250, spool them up with mono, and away you go. And if you look after them, wash them down, they will just last you really a lifetime. So a lot of the rods that I'm using are really old rods that I actually bought secondhand, and they're still going to this day. And I just went out and bought moderately priced spinning reels, the Penn Spin Fishers, which I love. I bought them because I wanted a reasonably decent reel, but on the beach and that kind of thing, that's a really harsh environment. So that's why I went for the Penn Spin Fishers. But they swap straight over onto my jewfishing rods in the boats, and they are fantastic. So if you're out in the tackle shop, looking to get some jewfishing gear, yeah, you don't have to go really expensive if you don't want to. There's some great products out there that are reasonably priced. Another thing I recommend too is you can actually buy some fantastic second-hand reels on Facebook Marketplace and eBay. There's always reels for sale. There's always rods for sale, heaps of rods for sale. So you could really set yourself up with 4 outfits in a boat, you know, for not that much money. Particularly if you went down that second-hand route. I used to buy all my game fishing gear second-hand, and I loved it. But anyway, I just wanted to show you the outfits that I'm using when I'm jewfishing in the river. So this is Dave signing off on Ozfish. Always remember, let's get some.